Bills Mafia, what's going on? It's Thursday. You know what that means. We are here to talk about the playoffs. Bills, Chiefs, Highmark Stadium this Sunday. Let's get it. Or not. Apparently my brother's just not going to put on the intro. I'll do that, though. Bills Mafia, what is going on? Hello. Happy Thursday to you guys. I am so glad you are here. I'm actually trying to be calm. I'm jacked up, bro. I am so excited. I am so pumped up for this weekend. This day, I've been so ready to talk to you guys. I've been ready to get into this, talk about this matchup. Woo! Billy Buffalo, what's going on? Pat, what's going on? RJ, how are you? Good evening. Connor, hey, good evening from Ireland. What's going on, man? Hello, how are you? Guys, welcome to Buffalo Late Night. We are here on a Thursday. Back to the normal scheduled date. Like last week, we were a little off being on a Tuesday night. But guys, it is Chiefs week. It is divisional playoff week. We are here for another episode of Buffalo Late Night here on the Cover One Sports Network. Man, I have a great show for you. I am so pumped. I am your host, Thomas DeLoss. You can find me on Twitter at the Thomas DeLoss. I'm glad that you chose to hang out with us this evening, or if you're tuning in on Spotify, happy Friday to you. You can find our show free on all social media and streaming platforms, including Spotify, YouTube, or however you choose to pod. If you are watching on Twitter right now, what is going on? Hello, guys. I'm glad to see you. You can click on the link that actually just came out on the Cover One Twitter page. That'll lead you right to me. But guys, I am jazzed to get into this night. We are going to be talking about all things Chiefs, all things Bills. We're going to do a little recap about the Steelers and Bills game just to kind of touch on and lead us into the big matchup this weekend. We're going to talk about all the matchups for this weekend for the playoffs. We're also going to have our damn segment as usual, our weekly touch-in about Sean McDermott, and then we will send y'all packing into the weekend getting ready for this big-time matchup. But like I said, guys, I'm glad that you're here. Make sure you are subscribed to the Cover One Pass. It's for the best coverage and analysis as we continue on into the playoffs. I'm ready. I am rocking. Let's do this thing. Let's talk about tonight. First and foremost, guys, let's talk about the Bills and the Steelers game. Guys, I don't know about you, but man, what a game that was. Starting off with a bang, starting off, quite frankly, is a matchup that I think most people did not anticipate for us to start off the way that we did. I don't think anybody anticipated us to start off with so much tenacity. Josh Allen came out hot. He finished off that game 21 of 30 for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns, and boy, did he make it worth it. Kid looked absolutely unreal. He was playing some of the best football I've seen him play in a long, long time, just because he looked composed, he looked ready, he looked just like the quarterback that we needed him to be in this playoff scenario. Casey, what's going on? Good evening. By the way, guys, if you saw my comment at the top, feel free. Let me know. What's your prediction for the Chiefs game? I want to know what you guys think in regards to that. But, man, I'll tell you, this matchup is huge. This matchup against the Chiefs is big. We are going to be talking a little bit more about that in just a bit. I've got some things, like I said, we're going to talk about banged up Bills and what kind of injuries we're looking at. But in regards to this matchup against the Steelers, the one thing I will say about this game is that Josh Allen really just seemed to have control. And, I think the one thing that needs to be kind of given him credit to is for a while in this season, it just seemed like he wasn't the same guy. It seemed like there was something going on, whether he was kind of having just, I don't know, some regression in terms of his mechanics, if decision-making was kind of going out the window. Him and Ken Dorsey weren't seeing eye to eye. But now it seems as though it's kind of getting back to where he's supposed to be. So what I will say is this. I think that when it comes to Josh Allen, and the Bills have one of the best playoff records and one of the best home records in the past 10 years. I say home playoff records, excuse me. The Bills are fantastic at home, and having the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, quite frankly, let's be fair, probably shouldn't have been there. They probably should not have been in the playoffs. Right, Puka? It's not all that surprising that they won. I mean, quite frankly, the Steelers were not that good of a team. I'll give Mason Rudolph credit. Played better than expected. 22 for 39, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think that game should have been a lot more out of hand. A lot more out of hand. I mean, realistically, you had that one turnover that was recovered by Balin Spector. Never gave an explanation, which I don't know about you guys. The fact that they gave zero explanation and it was quite obvious on camera that he recovered kind of set me off because it just felt like they wanted to keep the Steelers in that matchup. It just felt like they wanted the Steelers to stick around a little bit longer. And I mean, then you even look at the fact that had that Steelers defender not gotten his fingertips on the pass, Stephon Diggs goes in with an easy touchdown and we're up 28-0. So I think that game, quite frankly, it got a little sticky. You had the blocked field goal, which I'm surprised they even went for it. I think, quite frankly, right, exactly. Wanted to keep it interesting. Fully agree. I don't think they should have gone with the field goal, even though they said that the wind wasn't all that bad and whatnot. I just think the Steelers were not moving the ball efficiently enough. I think you could have pinned them down inside the 10 and made them work it. They would have had to go the whole entire distance of the field goal, or instead of the field, entire distance of the field, and not just 6-7 little plays to get right into the end zone. I think it was poor decision making, and it made it 21-7.5. With, quite frankly, and I keep saying quite frankly, it made them have, or at least the Bills, a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, cautious optimism, but kind of nervousness. Because prior to that, the game was in hand. It wasn't close. The Bills were running ramshot on the Steelers. So I think it was just a couple weird things that happened. But in totality, that game was the Bills to win from start to finish. It was just, lessening mistakes as usual. And see, here's the thing. I think it's something that we do need to kind of touch on is look at what Josh Allen has done when he hasn't made mistakes. When Josh Allen goes mistake-free, he is 17-0. 17-0, ladies and gentlemen. When Josh Allen doesn't throw a pick or an interception, wow, that made no sense, a pick or a fumble, excuse me. It's been a long day outside in the cold. When he doesn't have a pick or a fumble, Josh Allen is 17-0. Now, obviously, you could say low-hanging fruit, it's fine. But the reality is, when Josh Allen plays that smart, reserved, calculated football where he's making good quality passes, not putting the Bills and himself in harm's way, they're damn near unbeatable. And I mean, how many times have we said Josh Allen and the Bills only beat themselves? I mean, realistically, look at their schedule this year. If you look at who they've played, they only beat themselves. Realistically, they only beat themselves. So I think when it comes down to it, you saw this game against the Steelers. This game was theirs. Wholeheartedly theirs. It was theirs from the onset of the first kickoff all the way to the end of the game. It was just making sure they mitigated and took care of any mistakes that went along the way, and they did. You know what I'm going to do real quick? I'm going to push up this Sean McDermott segment to right now. to the front because it plays very much into what we're talking about. And let's give Sean McDermott some credit, yo. Let's give him some credit. He lost Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector, Tyrell Dodson, Taron Johnson, Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, all from the starting lineup. All of them. No one can do that. No one can do what Sean McDermott has done to this point and keep that team afloat. They just can't. Sean McDermott has done an unbelievable job at keeping this team afloat and keeping them going. By the way, cheers, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thursday night to you. Hope you're having a good one. But let's break it down. You know, like we've said for the past couple of weeks, and if you haven't watched the show over the past couple of weeks or this season, recently in the past couple of weeks, I've been doing kind of a week over week analysis of Sean McDermott, how people feel. In the comments, feel free to throw it in here and tell me what you're thinking. Yes, he made some questionable decisions, but I think a lot of those were they felt they were in position and they were doing okay. I think in a game that was closer, I don't know if you'd see those same decisions, right? I think the Bills were up 21-0. They said, okay, let's go for the field goal. It wasn't a great decision, but in reality, I think that's what he felt was okay because of how they were doing. Whereas if he just punted the ball and put them, wouldn't have had wouldn't have Sam Martin injured, wouldn't have had that 7 points come off onto the board. It was not a great situation. My feeling, though, with Sean McDermott, and I know if you guys watch this, I'm a Sean McDermott homer. I wave that banner and that flag every week. Every week. You guys know it. If you're in here and you're watching me, you guys know I'm probably the worst. I am an advocate of Sean McDermott. I love the guy. I love him to death. Aside from the fact that I've met him and he's a wonderful man, truly. I think, man, realistically, what he's done this season, the big thing about the Bills was going in the season, could Sean McDermott, could he run the defense and still be the head coach? And what would the defense look like? And I mean, if you look, wide angle lens, take a full landscape view of the season, there has been moments. If you listen to Aaron Schatz the other day on WGR, he even said it's two mountains and a valley, right? Start of the season, unbelievable defense. This end of the season, unbelievable defense. In the middle, not great. Not great. But that's what it's about, right? What we've talked about the last couple of weeks is getting on a hot streak at the right time, getting healthy at the right time. Unfortunately, those two things are not coinciding. But what Sean McDermott has done to mitigate all these issues, all these injuries, everything is unreal. Unreal. I mean, you look at most teams, and I mentioned this about last year when they went 13-3. Sean McDermott's ability to galvanize a locker room and get them to where he needs them to be, some of the best. There's very few coaches that can do what he's done. And the fact that he's done it again this year, in spite of the injuries, that he's kept the team afloat in spite of the issues, I mean, it should be lauded. It should be something that we talk about, and it should be something that other teams sit there and say, how can we replicate this? How can we do this again? Stan, perfect. Development of linebackers and defensive backs has been remarkable. Is there a better team at developing defensive backs and now apparently linebackers? I mean, would you have thought in a million years that at the beginning of the season we would say, God, I hope Balin Spector and Tyrell Dodson can play? Or before the season, I really hope that we're going to have Terrell Bernard and Tyrell Dodson. Like, let's be fair. No one says that. No one thought we would say that. But that's what we're saying. And that tells you where we are right now as a Bills team and as they are as the coaching staff, that they've been able to take what they have and elevate them. Elevate them to a particular level that there's no drop-off. And that's incredible. Bobby Babich, Another guy. Bobby Babich won't be here for long. I promise you that, guys. Bobby Babich will get poached sooner than later. What he has done with this defensive unit, I mean, it's all-timer. All-timer. Bobby Babich has been fantastic. That defensive backroom, if Kaiir Elam can continue to play like he did this past week, now you have Christian Benford, Tre'Davious White, if they bring him back based on what his injury looks like, Rasul Douglas, Dane Jackson, Kaiir Elam. Talk about just an absolute swath of wealth. Like, unbelievable amounts of depth. But so back to Sean McDermott. We'll wrap this up so we can get on and talk about what you guys want to talk about, which is obviously the matchup with the Chiefs. Sean McDermott's job thus far on a 6-game win streak, which includes that playoff matchup this past Sunday against the Steelers, and doing this all the while coming off of firing your offensive coordinator, you know, the hardest stretch of the season, which most people would have thought would have been a bad situation. And then on top of that, all the injuries that just seemingly mounted on top of each other. Unbelievable job by Sean McDermott. Deserves all the flowers. I know that's a big phrase everybody likes to say nowadays. Deserves all the flowers. And he deserves to continue to get the opportunity to prove himself because, man, I'm so impressed what he's done. So impressed. But what I do want to do is I do want to talk about banged up Bills. I did mention him. I'm going to sneeze any second, so if I mute myself, I apologize. Felt that one coming from a mile away. So I banged up Bills. If you guys have never dealt with banged up Bills, Dr. Kyle Trimble, one of my favorite guys. He's such a dude. He's such a good person. But he provides me injury updates every single week. This is the injury update heading into the Kansas City Chiefs matchup. In regards to this week, Gabe Davis might need another week. PCLs can do that. So don't expect to see Gabe Davis this week. Pleasantly, it seems that Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, even Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, all those guys have stepped it up. So we are in a good position alongside Ty Johnson, James Cook, sprinkling in of Dawson Knox. I think they've got the parts and pieces to be able to float without Gabe Davis. And that's still, notice how I didn't even mention Stephon Diggs. That's fantastic. We need Stephon. I know you're not watching, but I'm gonna just put it out there into the ether. Stephon, we need you this week. We need you more than we've ever needed you. We need you to ball out, please. Continuing on, Dodson and Douglas should return this week. Those are two massive gets to have back. Rasul Douglas has been, masterclass for us. Likely you'll see him line up probably covering Travis Kelce. Tyrell Dodson having him back, huge. Bernard sounds like he has a shot. Guys, if we can get Terrell Bernard, and there's a couple guys on Twitter, Thigh Doctor from Buffalo Fanatics, he had a nice breakdown of what he saw. It wasn't a lot of people thought it was a high ankle sprain or a lower ankle fracture. Ends up, it seems like it was just a traditional ankle sprain. And because he had an ankle sprain against the Jaguars, from what he is saying, from Banged Up Bills, Dr. Kyle Trimble, if there's already damage in there, more acute on chronic damage could allow for quicker return to play. Would need to tape up and pain management. So likely getting some types of shots or something to help him get through the game. So very likely we could see Terrell Bernard this week. It's probably pressing him, but it is possible having him back alongside Dodson, potentially Bale Inspector, which is another one. Bale Inspector should be a pain issue. If you didn't see when he went down and recovered that fumble, he did receive a knee to the back, which, the fact that the guy came in flying pretty quickly, massive pain there. Christian Benford maybe if it's a meniscus tear, depending on pain and swelling, range of motion. So we'll see. We'll see with Christian Benford. We could be very lucky. So here's the thing. A lot of times these are games. If this was week 7, you'd be like, just let him rest. It's fine. A lot of times in games like this where it's do or die, you'll have coaches saying, if they can push through this, you need them out there. And even if it's on a snap count, having them out there would be such a beneficial thing. So I think there is potential to get all of them back. I think all of them are going to have massive, massive implications in terms of this game. And if we're talking about them, oh, by the way, Taylor Rapp should play. So you should be able to get all your safeties there. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Taylor Rapp, Cam Lewis, who's done, valiantly in relief. So glad he's here. But having all those guys back is going to be big time. Before we go any further, though, guys, like I said at the top of the show, Cover One Pass. Absolutely want you guys to sign up. Great content. So much that we deliver here at Cover One. But why don't I let two of the best from Cover One's Buffalo podcast, Aaron Quinn and Greg Thompson, tell you all about it.
Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One Pass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
There you are, guys. Aaron Quinn, Greg Thompson, two of the best. Two very intelligent people. Glad to have them as figureheads of Cover One and leaders and, the auspice of our great community, because they do an incredible job providing and delivering such good content. But that being said, guys, let's get into the matchup. The thing we all want to talk about. I want to hear from you guys. Side note, Chill Will, I think it's just been a product of game specific, moments. I think AJ Epinesa had impactful plays, but the fact that people know about them now, they're teeing off on him. They're chipping him. They're trying to get him out of the game plan. I think with Donovan Smith and with Jawan James, I think all of our defensive ends, Von Miller saying that he thinks he's closer to being back to usual. Leonard Floyd, Greg Russo, AJ Epinesa, all, Shaq Lawson, Kingsley Jonathan, if he gets a jersey. I'll tell you, I think we have a chance to really make an impact here. Even if they get back, they are unlikely to be 100%. I think we need offense to help the defense this week, run like we did on the Cowboys. Couldn't agree more. I think this is a game where you need to lean on Josh. Some very bold takes considering our history in relation to not practicing, likelihood of playing. I know. I think what it comes down to, though, when this type of moment happens and they're that close, I think you see guys push. Who would I rather start? See, I think it's specific, right? You're probably going to see the Chiefs run some screens. They do a very nice job of running screens. And if I am going to have somebody out there, I want a guy like Dorian to actually go out and just attack. As much as I like Klein, and Klein's going to be more reserved, he is the type of linebacker that has more fine-tuning, more seasoning. So he's not going to be the one that's going to over-pursue. But sometimes when you have those screens, you just need to attack. You just need to get to the ball carrier. So I think it just depends. I love what Dorian has done. I get very nervous with Dorian because of his ability to over-pursue. And in this type of a matchup with a guy like Andy Reid's going to take full advantage of trying to do what he can to put Dorian in bad positions and take him out of the play. I don't think we'll have to rely on both. Tyrell Dodson should be in there, or Tyrell Dodson should be back, potentially Terrell Bernard. But I think both of them have their positives. I think AJ Klein has done a very, very nice job. Dorian is he's a thumper, and I think Dorian Williams potentially could be like a Nick Bolton, like a very heady. He just needs to get more time on task, but he's a thumper. Great physical tackler. We've seen him make some impressive open field tackles. I think they both have some nice pieces, but AJ Klein also does some beautiful things. We saw a couple years ago against the against the Seattle Seahawks. AJ Klein had that great strip sack and fumble recovery. The guy is very heady when it comes to playing. So I guess it just depends. But guys, let's talk about this matchup. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs against the Buffalo Bills. Big time matchup. My wife and I will be there this weekend. My wife talked me into it. I wasn't necessarily excited about the idea of going and sitting in the cold, considering I spend 6 days a week or 5 days a week, outside. But hey, happy wife, happy life. And I think it'd be a great experience. I think it'd be a great opportunity. But so in regards to this matchup, guys, one thing that I want to say right out of the gate is I know people are talking about, Patrick Mahomes and his first time playing on the road. But I think there's more to that story than just that. I think this game in totality it's more of an emotional play for the Bills than anybody else. Thank you, Puka. Appreciate that. I think this is a game that for the Buffalo Bills, there is so much physically that rides in this matchup. And the reason I say that is, for the longest time, and we've beaten them in the regular season, but quite frankly, it is just that. It's the regular season. And not to say that those matches don't matter or those games don't matter, but let's put it on a very level playing field, right? We've said the same thing to Miami Dolphins, right? Miami Dolphins, when they beat us last year, week 3, they had said, oh, we're coming for the division, right? Miami Dolphins at one point, like 6 weeks left in the season, division's ours. All those games in the regular season are fine and dandy. And yes, they matter in terms of, like we got the second seed in the playoffs here. All those things are great. But at the end of the day, they mean nothing if you can't get it done when all the chips are on the table. And to this point, that's what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs have had our number. Cheers again. So to say that it doesn't matter or to say that I'm not thinking about this game, because when you look at this matchup with them having our number, if you can't win it when it's in your own house, right? And for the longest time, what have we said? Let's get the game here. When are we going to play the Chiefs at home? When are we going to have the opportunity to dictate our own destiny? You have all those things and more. Everything is laid out in front of you on a silver platter. Everything. If you look at the way the Bills have played, they've done everything to this point. The last 6 weeks, they've won. For hell or high water, if it hasn't been pretty, if they've had close calls, whatever it is, they've done what they've had to do. And when they look back in the annals of history and you look at the history books and you say, how did, the Bills won a Super Bowl. You know what they don't do? They don't rehash what those victories or losses look like. They just tell you the Bills won the Super Bowl. That's it. So when it comes down to these matchups, you got to win. You got to put yourself in position. Now they have that. Now that they have that position, they have the Chiefs coming to their place, their house. They have the opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to play his first postseason matchup in their place. They get to sleep in their own bed. They get to drive to work. They know where everything is. They're in their own locker room. Everything is like clockwork. Something Sean McDermott absolutely lives and breathes. A guy that is all about consistency, all about having regiment, everything being exactly how he likes it. So, they have a chance this weekend on Sunday, 6:30 p.m., Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium. They have a chance to do what they had to do all along in their own house in front of their fans. And I'm going to say this, my wife's probably listening. Don't get it twisted. She thinks it's ridiculous. I say that too much. Josh Allen knows what's at stake. Josh Allen knows this is a legacy-defining matchup. This is a game for Josh Allen that can change the entire trajectory of his career. This is a game that, if he keeps going, is a Hall of Fame solidifying game. Solidifying season. Because to this point, Josh Allen's got 4 straight 40 touchdown seasons. He's broken almost every Jim Kelly record. He's going to eventually be the number one rusher for Bills history. He's got all the records, and he's only 27 years old. So suffice to say, what does he need? He needs a chip. He needs a championship. And you now have the opportunity with the Kansas City Chiefs. With the Kansas City Chiefs being the weakest that they've been as an offense since we've known them with Patrick Mahomes. And somebody put a stat earlier. I caught this on Uber Hansen's Twitter. That was very interesting. The Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes so far, right? I'm going to read the exact tweet just so you know. They have not seen anyone, or since week 7, the Chiefs have beaten one starting quarterback, and that is Tua, whom they have beat twice. One. They have only played one starting quarterback since week 7. You have your opportunity to have the Chiefs in their house, in the Bills' house, with an offense that is significantly worse than in the past. Now, listen, they've got unbelievable parts and pieces, but in totality, it is not what they used to be. Rashee Rice, man, what a season that cat's had. He has turned it on as this season has gone along. Rashee Rice has 938 yards receiving on 79 receptions, 7 touchdowns. Banger of a year. Banger of a year. Travis Kelce, who not exactly what he used to be, but 984 yards, 93 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. Not a usual Travis Kelce type year, but close to being at least reasonable. Right? And you're right. They have had 0 adversity. 0. Somebody else said something earlier. Who is the bigger threat in this matchup, Kelce or Rice? So I'll say this. I think there's two schools of thought in this matchup with Kelce and Rice. Obviously, with Kelce, you have a guy that's been there and done that. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a guy with pedigree, a guy with experience, a guy that knows what to do. He knows what Patrick Mahomes likes, where to be, when to be there. He's physical. He's dangerous. He's got great hands, except for last week, apparently. And then there's Rashee Rice, a bit of a wild card per se, a guy that's come on this year and has been very impactful for them. I'm going to lean on the Travis Kelce side, and the only reason I say that, and it's not to downplay Rashee Rice, because what Rashee has done this season, awesome. But if you're going to go into a Bills game, who are you going to worry about? Khalil Shakir or Stephon Diggs? As good as Khalil Shakir has looked this year, and he's had a nice season so far this year, Khalil Shakir, 39 catches, 611 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. Great season. Great season. Or are you going to worry about Stephon Diggs, who has 107 catches, 1,183 yards, and 8 tutties? I'm probably going to rely in my defensive game plan and my worry on Stephon Diggs. So when it comes to this, I think you need to worry about the guy that's been there, done that in Travis Kelce, just because of how good he is. By the way, go Bills. I'm going to do my usual real quick. My little hellos to everybody that I didn't do this yet. Billy Buffalo, Pat Milburn, RJ Connor, Casey DeBoss, Puka, RJ, I think you said you before, Mr. Migo, Nonstop Music Production or Promotion, excuse me. What's going on? Wahid, Stan Sasha, what's going on? Hello, good evening. Ian, Wahid Jabril. What else we got here? Who else we got in here tonight? Chill Will, hello, welcome back. Walter S. Ryan Ike. I said Chill Will already. I'm losing my mind. Don't mind me. Bill's Witch, what's going on? Hello. Beryl Kubler, good evening. And I think it's everybody. Middles, hello. So, that being said, let's carry on. In this matchup, I think this comes down to a couple things, guys. It comes down to 2 very key component matchups. It comes down to the Bills' defensive line versus the Chiefs' offensive line, and the Chiefs' defensive line against the Bills' offensive line. That's it. Those are your matchups. That is your, just end all be all, could be the deciding factor of this game. Because let's look at what's going on here. You have the Bills' offensive line who has 5 guys who have started every game for the Bills. Every game. And then you have a Chiefs defensive line that has George Karlaftis, who has 10.5 sacks on the season. You have Chris Jones, 10.5 sacks on the season. Charles Omenwu, who has 7 sacks on the season. And then just a nice mix of a bunch of very, very talented guys. Right? A lot of very talented guys. And it comes down to, like Mike Dana's had a nice season. Mike Dana has 6.5 sacks on the year. You have a bunch of safeties. You've seen guys like Trent McDuffie is fantastic off the edge when it comes. You saw last time we played the Chiefs, Trent McDuffie almost got Josh. They've got a very talented defensive line. And when it comes down to it, if they can provide pressure to Josh and our offensive line cannot contain, that makes the jobs of Justin Reed, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, and their linebackers of Drew Tranquill, Leo Chenal, Willie Gay, and Nick Bolton's jobs that much easier. And as good as Josh Allen is, and their offensive line for the Bills has been very good this year. Josh Allen is one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. They still need to protect him against a very, very potent very potent defensive line of the Chiefs that is started and stopped by Chris Jones, a guy who is a game wrecker. He is a pace and a tenacity dictator. He is a guy that can move all over the defensive line. He can move, you'll probably see him on top of Spencer Brown at points. You'll probably see him inside going against Osiris Torrance. You'll see him all over the place. All over the place. And he is a pain in the ass to deal with. He's very strong. You have to chip him. Double teaming is a must. He's been very good. Very, very good. So that's important. That's an important matchup. Then there's the other side for the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills have a defensive line that is very good. Very stout. Leonard Floyd, 10.5 sacks on the season. A.J. Epinesa, 6.5 sacks. Ed Oliver at defensive tackle, 9.5 sacks. Greg Rousseau, 5 sacks. Excuse me. Jeez Louise. You've had so many guys on this line that have had an impact play. And that doesn't even mention Von Miller, who I truly believe, if you watch the last couple games, is starting to trend in the right direction. I think we're not going to get non-Miller. I think we're going to get Von Miller this week. Which, by the way, whoever came up with that is ridiculous, and I love it. So, in this matchup, I think this is going to be one of those games that you need the defensive line for the Bills to get after them. Because here's the thing, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line is nice. They've got some great offensive linemen. Great offensive linemen. If you look at who they're trotting out there, Donovan Smith, Jawan James, it's fine. But then you've got guys like Joe Thuney, who is one of the best offensive guards in the NFL. Creed Humphrey, who is, from the day they got him at center, has been the tone setter for that offensive line. Just too many guys to deal with that are just so impactful. But here's the thing. The Bills, specifically if they've Taron Johnson back, and then guys like Rasul Douglas, I think Kyer Elam's going to get some more burn this week. They are guys that cause turnovers. They cause turnovers. So far this year in interceptions, you have, let me see real quick. Let me bring this up. Well, I'm not actually looking at the right page here. I apologize. In terms of interceptions for the Bills, Terrell Bernard has 3, may or may not see him. But then you've got Rasul Douglas, who has 4. A.J. Epinesa has 2. Micah Hyde, 2. Ed Oliver, 1. Christian Benford, 2. You have a lot of guys that have made impact plays and have had, opportunities to change the trajectory of the game. And that starts up front. You need Patrick Mahomes to feel uncomfortable. Donovan Smith has allowed the most hurries and sacks of any left tackle in the NFL. Jawan James is one of the most penalized right tackles in the NFL. So you have that combination of two guys who each provide a staggering weakness to their offensive line. Now, mind you, they do have a solid interior. Solid. But that's where it comes to your defensive ends to wreck the game plan. That's when you need guys like Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, AJ Epinesa to make their impact felt. You need guys like Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver and Jordan Phillips to get in the face of their offensive linemen and make Patrick uncomfortable. You need those two in synchronicity, their defensive ends. You need Leonard Floyd, Greg Rousseau to get Patrick Mahomes trapped, and you need him to step right into Daquan Jones. Big time. That's where the game can get changed. That's where things can get put on its ear. That's where guys like Patrick Mahomes will get into trouble. We've seen it before. And that's not exclusive to just him. Josh Allen does it too. But the reason I mention that is we have caused Patrick to make bad throws. You saw it last year. We forced him to make a bad throw to Taron Johnson. Big. You need it. This is a matchup of two teams that it's who makes the most mistakes. In both sides, the Bills have the better offensive line in totality. The Chiefs have the better interior. And then when you look at the two defensive lines, I think they're very close. I don't think Ed Oliver is that far off from Chris Jones anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And then if you look at it, man, Daquan Jones, since he's been back, you've seen the difference. And it's played into the fact that in the past 6 weeks, the defense under McDermott has allowed 16.8 points or less. I don't even know if Tony's going to play, realistically. I don't know if Tony's going to play. We'll see. I know that, Patrick Mahomes has sat there and said he, believes in Tony, but, I mentioned this earlier today. What else is he going to say? Is he going to sit there and say, Tony's shit. He can't catch. No, you ain't going to do that right before the playoffs. You need all hands on deck. I think what it comes down to is you need this offense for the Bills to be able to protect, and you need Josh to make good decisions. Because here's the other part of this. Like I mentioned before, the Chiefs have a very good secondary. Very good secondary. Led by L'Jarius Sneed, who was snubbed for All-Pro status and Pro Bowl. Trent McDuffie, who is a unbelievable young second-year corner, had a very, very good season. 5 forced fumbles, 7 pass deflected. 80 total tackles. He has been a monster. 3 sacks. The guy's been all over the place. All over the place. Played every game for them. Ian, I need you here, buddy. Apologies for that. But this is the type of game where you need Josh to be on point. The Chiefs have a very good defense. Don't misconstrue their games for not being good defense. They have nice pieces. The defensive line isn't just it. Their linebacking core, Drew Tranquil, Leo Chenal, Willie Gay, Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton has only played 8 games this year, but man, what an impact he's made in those 8 games. Nick Bolton's only played 8 games, has 60 tackles. 60. Ridiculous. This game is going to come down. This game is going to, apologies. This game is going to come down to, like I mentioned, these two teams and who makes the least amount of mistakes. We're going to get right back into this. Couple things real quick I got to get into. Guys, I am excited. Cover One, again, is incredibly excited to partner with Underdog Fantasy. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. Oh, Is Ian here? Yep, he is here. Okay. Ian's having internet issues. By the way, Ian, my brother, is our producer. Cover One is excited to once again partner with the most dynamic name in fantasy football, Underdog Fantasy. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in some action on the NFL. It's Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite or least favorite players' stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry. And get every pick right, take home some cold, hard cash. Use the code COVER1 and get your first deposit doubled up to $500 by Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Not only do they have the NFL, but they've also got MLB, NBA, and more. Get in on the fun today. Join Underdog Fantasy using Cover One. Now, guys, we are going to, before we get right back into that Chiefs and Bills matchup, Ian, go ahead. Let's get that damn segment rolling.
Damn!
Tonight on Buffalo Late Night, we tip our cap to the Dallas Cowboys. For weeks now, we have heard from Cowboys fans telling the Bills are frauds, how they've got bailed out by the refs in a game where the Bills outplayed them on both sides of the ball. For weeks, we've heard them talk about they're going to the Super Bowl. For weeks, we've heard about how Dak deserves to be MVP. Now here we sit watching the Cowboys book their flights to Cabo after getting trounced by the Packers, bounced out of the playoffs in the first round as a second seed, which was the first time a second seed had been bounced by a seventh. Now, giving them some credit, they managed to have 4 playoffs wins since the millennium, unlike the Dolphins, who are winless since 2001, which should bring a smile to everyone listening. However, to immediately redact that credit and move the goalpost just a tad, the Cowboys have managed a divisional game. They haven't managed to win a divisional game since 1995. That's 13 playoff appearances without a divisional game win. 6 of those appearances had the Cowboys missing the divisional game altogether. That's right. Jerry hasn't managed to get the Cowboys into a conference championship since 1995. Yet, we are somehow managing to still refer to them as America's team. And while the producer is sure that people in their 20s who weren't alive to remember the last time the Cowboys won a chip will keep mentioning the 4 falls, we here at Buffalo Late Night want you to know that they'll be a little bit quieter for the remaining of the postseason. And for that, we award them this week's damn trophy. So there we are. That is our damn segment for tonight, guys. But let's get right back into this matchup in regards to the Chiefs, the Bills. One thing I do want to say in regards to this, I'm going to bring up something else, guys. We've done this before. One of my favorite things that we do weekly. We're going to be talking about the playoff scenario in regards to the Chiefs, in regards to the Bills, and how things look as per the playoffs. So obviously, guys, we know that this matchup is going to be big. We know this is going to be a tough game. You're going to have Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. You know, Pat Mahomes is coming to Buffalo against a raucous Bills crowd. It's going to be loud. This might be one of the loudest Bills games I've ever been to. And, man, the Bills-Patriots game a couple years ago was huge. The 2011 Bills-Patriots game, where, Ryan Fitzpatrick beat Tom Brady. That was crazy loud. This might usurp both of those. This matchup is a game that many people have been waiting on for years. Years. A game that I think a lot of people have been sitting here saying, God, we need this. We need this. But here's the crazy part about this, folks. Here's the crazy thing. If the Houston Texans go in to the Baltimore Ravens, now mind you, Baltimore is going to be without Marlon Humphrey, one of their best defensive pieces. If they go in and beat the Baltimore Ravens, that means at 6:30 on Sunday night, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs know for certain that whoever wins that game is going to be hosting the AFC Championship. Let that sink in for a sec. The Buffalo Bills have a chance at 6:30 on Sunday night to know that if they win, they are back in their own house the following week for the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. Sorry, I just got the chills saying that out loud. I don't know about you guys, but that gives me the feels. Because if you guys have been watching the show for the last how many weeks, we've been kind of going on with the playoffs. But even more than that, if you go back 7 weeks from now and you listen to what I said that if the Bills won out, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I know it's crazy. I say a lot of crazy shit on this show. This is Buffalo Late Night, folks. It's a little wild. It's a little late. Not late as it used to be, but we're here. Side note, guys, I'd appreciate all 102 of you watching right now. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up, that like button. It means the world to me. It is a lifeblood. It keeps me going. It lets me know that you enjoy this show. It also lets everybody else know that this show happens. And alongside of that, if you have enjoyed this show, feel free to go ahead and share this with a family member. If you have a friend that's a Bills fan, a family member that's a Bills friend, wow, that came out backwards. If you have a family member that's a Bills fan, share this with them. Say, hey, go check out Buffalo Late Night on Cover One. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. It is, like I said, our lifeblood. That is how this show grows and grows and grows. And like I've seen so far, man, you guys are awesome. This show has gotten unbelievable. Every week, more people here chatting about everything. You guys are a ton of fun. I've truly, truly, truly enjoyed it and appreciate it. But talk about feelings, guys. Talk about feelings. Like I just said, I got the chills. The chills. To think about the opportunity that if the Bills went ahead, they could be sitting here, right here, in the Super Bowl. And who would have thought after the Jaguars game in London that the Bills would be, after this Sunday, one game away from potentially stamping their spot in the Super Bowl? That they could be one game away from solidifying themselves as the representative of the AFC. See, I think when it comes down to all of this, right, when you look at the Buffalo Bills and where they're at right now, the Buffalo Bills are in an incredible position with the Chiefs here coming into our house to really put their mark on this season. And like I said a little bit ago with Josh Allen, there is a lot here at play. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, there's a lot in play for these players. They know that 13 seconds was an opportunity that they have not let down. They live with that every day. Josh knows it. A lot of the guys on the team know it. The coaching staff knows it. Last year was a year where everything went sideways. They know it's right here. They know it's at the tip of their fingers. So to know that come 6:30, the Bills would have in front of them the knowledge that if they win, they host the AFC Championship against the Houston Texans. Which, side note, wouldn't it be apropos for Josh Allen to get the chance to play in the Super Bowl, to beat the team in his rookie year that ended his playoff hopes? Talk about exercising demons. You go ahead and you beat the Dolphins to win the AFC East, winning 5 straight. Then you come back here, you play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then you have the Kansas City Chiefs come into Buffalo. You beat them to then have potentially the Houston Texans to come into Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl. Man, what an emotional feeling that could be. But this game is all about, like I said, those key matchups. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that's going to come into play here, right? You need the special teams to continue. You need the special teams. What's going on, man? Shout out to Singapore. Oh, Jesus. I knew I was going to do this. I got jebaited into that one. Ah, dang it. Apologies. I deserve that one. I'm really getting played into this stuff today. Okay. Carrying on. We will cut that from the recording. What a mess. I don't even know where I was at. What was I even talking about? The special teams are important. I'm sorry, guys. That just threw me for a loop. My brother's supposed to be making sure everything stays on top. He's slacking tonight. We need our special teams. That's another thing. Is Matt Hawk going to play on Sunday over the top of a guy like Sam Martin? We don't know what his hamstring's looking like. Tyler Bass, 2 very, very crucial misses this week. Need him to step up big time. These are the type of games that could potentially come down to those last second possessions. You need every special teams play. We saw what happened in 13 seconds. Special teams is massive. Massive. Listen, RJ, mind your business. Yeah, right. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I haven't even seen them yet either. That being said, guys, that special teams play huge. You need the offense. Josh Allen getting in this. Like I said earlier, you need Stephon Diggs to really step his game up in this one. I think that's one of those big times where Stephon Diggs, there's got to be a time where he's going to show up. He had a good game, but you need a takeover game. Is this the moment? Is this the moment where Dalton Kincaid again shows that he, and side note, somebody told me that Dalton Kincaid was just a rookie. How about Dalton Kincaid last week? What a rookie playoff rookie playoff debut. Unreal job by Dalton Kincaid. Unreal. This offense has all the ability. Side note, if Jerick McKinnon is playing, he's been an absolute thorn in the Bills' side. Have to make sure that you keep him contained. But in regards to the Bills' offense, James Cook getting him involved last time we played the Chiefs. James Cook had 83 yards receiving. He was the Bills' offense. I think that's big time, making sure that you've got him in place, that you have James Cook open and available. Ty Johnson being a big part of the offense, I think, is going to be crucial to success, getting those tough yards. I think getting Josh and his legs involved, we saw what happened. That 52-yard touchdown, which, man, I don't know. I want you guys to go back and watch that touchdown. How remarkable was that? It looked like the quickest 52-yard touchdown that anybody has ever seen. Ever. And right, the Chiefs have struggled against the run this season. That's big. 80 yards contributed a lot last week. Yep, a lot of guys right now that you need to be involved quickly, early, and often. This matchup is going to be who gets on the board quick, who gets on the board early. And I still think that they need to defer. I still think this is a game that the Bills need to let the Chiefs get out there, get the ball first. And if you can do that and you can take away their first possession and keep them even to 3 points, if you can obviously get them off the field and not get any points and get the ball, huge. The Bills, I mean, I think they're going to do that anyway because the crowd is going to be at a heightened state like we've never seen before. But I think that is an important piece of getting the Chiefs off the field, getting the ball, scoring, and then having that opportunity to double dip or at least get something out of half. But this is a game where it's going to come down to those crucial key matchups, like I said. Offensive line, defensive line, Bills versus Chiefs. The Bills defensive line going against the Chiefs, very potent interior, but questionable. Right tackle, left tackle. That's going to be big time. You need Von Miller to be Von Miller. Adam, I don't know if you caught the news. Leonard Fournette was actually released from the practice squad. Leonard Fournette is no longer a Buffalo Bill. I thought he could potentially be impactful. Obviously, they think that Ty Johnson is more of an impact player for this team. Over under on Jawan Taylor. I see Jawan James. Jawan Taylor penalties. We'll say, let's mark it 3. 3 penalties. We'll say that. But in regards to this, guys, this matchup and whether or not how this turns out, what I do want to touch, and I'm going a little bit long, but it's fine. I'm enjoying this. You guys are awesome. You guys are doing a great job. You guys are really just, the conversations really keep me in. Can the Bills win the Super Bowl if we get past this week? Obviously, you need to get past this week, and then who knows if you play the Texans at home or the Ravens at the bank. But can the Bills win? Well, I'll say this. The Bills over the last 6 weeks have proven that even when things aren't perfect, that they have the ability and the depth and the coaching and the talent to still win at all costs. So the fact that the Super Bowl would be, what, almost 4 weeks from now, about a little over 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now, the Bills will have a lot of their key players back. Excuse me. Which, part of me, and I don't know this, so don't take this and don't make this as I know something, because I just don't. But part of me wonders if the Bills were if the Bills were to make it to the Super Bowl, could we see the return of Matt Milano? Could we see the return? I'd have to see if they've already eclipsed the time frame of being able to bring him back. I know rosters lock at a certain point, but I wonder if, because he's still on the roster as an IR, if they could still get him back by the Super Bowl. That would be intriguing. And what a coup that would be. And again, like I said, guys, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. I do very much appreciate it. It means the world to me. But guys, I think this matchup is incredible for the Buffalo Bills. This is a big time game. A game that for a lot of us, we've been waiting on. A game that for a lot of us, we've been sitting here saying, when are we going to have the Chiefs at home? Which if you guys see me, there's a lot of people there, but if you see me this weekend and you're at the game, say hello. If you see any of us cover one, guys, say hello. We don't bite. We are friendly, I promise. But I'll tell you, and I'm gonna wrap things up here. This matchup has the potential to be life-altering for Josh Allen and the Bills. This matchup has the opportunity to dictate the future of Josh Allen and the Bills. This matchup, this game, this opponent has the chance to truly, truly, truly change everything for the Buffalo Bills. Because like I said, if they win this week, I believe they win the Super Bowl. I think they're that good of a team. I think they are poised to continue. Thanks, Marty. Appreciate you. I hope so too. Diggs has practice this week. He didn't practice, I believe, today or yesterday because he was on vet rest. Like I think Leonard Floyd and Von Miller had vet rest today. But yes, it is time to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. It is time to put Josh Allen's just mark, his stamp on the NFL. And guys, like I said a couple weeks ago, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs, 2019-2020. Coming out of a bye, they won every game to the end. Bills are on a 6-game win streak. But here's the other one. Peyton Manning struggled against Tom Brady for the longest time. In fact, could never beat him in the playoffs until he came home. Until he played in home. Until he played in Indianapolis. Patrick Mahomes now has to travel, like Tom Brady, to his biggest nemesis' home field in the playoffs in one of the biggest matchups that they've had to date. I'm not saying that history repeats itself, but it does. History has an unbelievable and an uncanny way of repeating itself. And folks, listen to me here. I've said this before. The Bills are going to win this weekend. Go ahead, screenshot me. I'll be there. I'll take the heat if we don't. But I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe the Buffalo Bills are going to win this weekend. Our team, even with injuries, continues to truck through. They continue to prove that they are absolutely still as strong as they've ever been. They've got depth for days. They've got strength in numbers. They have an unbelievable machine Winter Soldier quarterback in Joshua Patrick Allen. Folks, listen. It's time to strap up. It's time to get ready. We have a big game this weekend. I want you to get pumped. I want you to get amped. I want you to get excited. I want you to feel the feels. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Enjoy these moments. Enjoy it. Enjoy this game. Enjoy where we're at. Enjoy this team. Enjoy this quarterback. Enjoy the ride. This is going to be one hell of a game. You are going to see two of the best, the best, not only to date, but to ever do it this weekend in our house, in Orchard Park, in our backyard, playing for all the marbles. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is Buffalo Late Night every Thursday night. I will see you next week as we look on. Yes, that's overconfidence. I don't care. As we look on to the next game in this absolute drought. What am I trying to say here? Drudging of opponents in this win streak. Buffalo Late Night here on Cover One Sports Network. I'm Tom DeLoss. You can find me on Twitter at @ThomasDeLoss. We will see you next week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get that dub. Let's go, Buffalo.
The Bills make me wanna.